Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau admits that he has no hard evidentiary proof to support his allegations against India. This after Trudeau accused Indian government agents of being involved in the killing of a Khalistani terrorist last year. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to unveil his victory plan to NATO members in Belgium. Zelensky will meet leaders from Britain, France and Germany to secure more military aid for the war against Russia. Iranian Foreign Minister meets his Egyptian counterpart, making it the first visit by an Iranian top diplomat to Cairo in years. This as the two countries hold talks about rising tensions between Israel and Iran. Mali's junta chief, Assimi Goïta, promotes himself from the rank of a colonel to the rank of an army general with a specific title. This is the highest military distinction, which has been held by only two former heads of state in the country's history. And Mozambique's ruling party, Frelimo, leads early election results in all 11 provinces as opposition alleges voting fraud. Final results will be announced on the 24th of October as opposition pledges to challenge the results. Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at the top story. Are African countries becoming Europe's hubs to return migrants? A controversial plan by the United Kingdom to deport migrants to Rwanda met an ill fate. It was described as inhumane, shocking and unlawful by human rights observers. It was also criticized by European Union leaders, many of whom questioned the morality of such a plan. But that didn't stop other European nations from copying the strategy. In the latest, the Netherlands is considering deporting migrants to Uganda. It is looking at the possibility to deport the migrants if their request for asylum was rejected and then send them to the East African country. Dutch Foreign Trade and Development Cooperation Minister visited Uganda this week. She talked to Ugandan ministers about the plan and has reportedly hinted that the African nation is willing to cooperate. However, it is still in the early stages. But this proposal by the Netherlands comes as EU leaders are gathering in Brussels for a summit. Immigration is said to be a top agenda. After right-wing parties gained ground in EU Parliament elections this year, migration has taken a centre stage in the discussions. Ahead of today's Leaders' Summit, EU's Home Affairs ministers met in Luxembourg last week. Now, they talked about some innovative ways to increase deportations of irregular migrants and rejected asylum seekers. These include controversial plans to set up dedicated return centres outside the bloc. The talks come only a few months after the European Union adopted a sweeping reform of its asylum policies. These reforms will be enforced in June of 2026. And will harden border procedures and requires countries to take in asylum seekers from frontline states or to provide money and resources. But many EU nations think these reforms are not enough. They want the bloc to think outside the box, or rather outside the border. Many EU nations have demanded the creation of centres outside the EU where rejected asylum seekers could be sent. There are no detailed plans of how return hubs could work in practice, but some countries have already begun doing it. Italy has become the first European nation to have deported migrants outside its borders. It has gone ahead with its plan to deport rejected migrants to Albania. So EU nations are carrying on with their plans to send migrants to third nations. Netherlands is now considering to send asylum seekers to Uganda. The UK was earlier planning to send migrants to Rwanda. However, sending migrants to third countries has faced ethical and legal questions. Now, the UK's Rwanda plan went through a tumultuous journey before it was finally passed in April of this year, during the tenure of Conservative government led by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. But after the change of government in July, the new Labour government, headed by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, scrapped the law due to concerns. But UK Rwanda's plan has been studied by others. The latest country to work towards a migrant deportation policy is the Netherlands. But why would countries like Albania and Uganda accept migrants? The answer is money. The UK had promised to pay $272 million to Rwanda to relocate refugees. Uganda and Albania seem to be eyeing similar cash prizes. It's not just individual countries, but the European Commission has also signed agreements with North African nations like Egypt, Tunisia, and Libya that provide them hefty funds to prevent migrant departures. But critics say that throwing money at African regimes should not be the EU's go-to migrant policy. Many have also raised concerns about the safety of the host countries, labeling them unsafe for the deported migrants who are looking for a better life. But will more European countries look to deport migrants to Africa? And what impact would it have on the continent? Now, for more on this, we have with us Dr. John Sand Ojo. He is a research fellow at NATO Veteran Initiative. He is joining us live from Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What are the legal and ethical implications of transferring asylum seekers who have exhausted legal options from the Netherlands to Uganda?
Thank you. The step taken by the Netherlands government to transfer asylum seekers who are unsuccessful in their application might fall within the broader legal framework of the EU migration policy that states asylum seekers who do not require protection must return to their country of origin or a safe third country. First, I think we need to look at the repatriation of failed applicants, which can solely depend on the agreement with the countries of origin, which are often non-EU countries. And this policy does not really deal with migration in a generic sense, but I think the policy is subjected to the court approval.
And what potential challenges or risks could arise from implementing such agreements, both for the asylum seekers and for diplomatic relations between the Netherlands, Uganda, and the European Union?
Yeah, I think the matter needs to be determined by the European court, because we have seen similar case in the UK where the government proposed a policy to transfer asylum seekers who are not successful in their applications to Rwanda. So it's subjected. It will still subjected to the court's approval, as I said earlier, and considering the diplomatic relations between the two countries, I think this policy can also strengthen the diplomatic relations between Netherlands and Uganda.
And how does Uganda's infrastructure and legal framework support the integration and the humane treatment of asylum seekers, given its current refugee policies?
A country like Uganda with a poor human rights record cannot be considered a safe return hub for unsuccessful asylum seekers. Looking at the recent acts put forward by the Uganda government, including anti-lesbian, gay, anti-transgender, and anti-bisexual policy, which become law. So I think based on the country's record, the policy may further endanger asylum seekers' fundamental human rights. Those that fall within these categories, I think it will further jeopardize their human rights condition.
Doctor, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights on this latest story.
Thank you.
Shifting focus to Nigeria now, which is reeling from a tragic accident. Over 150 people have been killed in northern Nigeria due to a fuel tank explosion in one of Nigeria's worst accidents in recent times. A fuel tanker overturned on Tuesday after the driver lost control of the vehicle. The explosion was caused after the crash resulted in the spilling of petrol that it was carrying. Over 140 people are also injured in the tragedy, with some in very critical condition.
Truly what happened, I was there when the whole thing started. I scooped oil and went home to drop it, and I picked up my bike to come back, but it developed a fault. While fixing it, I then heard the loud explosion.
The incident occurred in Nigeria's northern state of Jigawa. The driver lost control of the tanker on the Jigawa State Expressway at about 530 kilometers north of the capital, Abuja. But the tragedy worsened when several residents crowded around the vehicle to collect fuel that had spilled onto the road and in drains. Soon, a massive explosion tore through crowds of people who had rushed to the scene to try and scoop up the fuel, but ultimately became victims of the ill-fated accident.
Thinking that it's an AUF. They didn't know, little did they know that it is a cause of death. So some of them that engaged in fetching this fuel were caught up with the fire. In the process of taking, there is a flash of light and the place caught fire.
The incident highlights two grave concerns Nigeria faces. First, it is the fuel crisis. People are desperate for fuel amid scarcity and rising cost of living. Despite being a major oil producer, Nigeria imports most of its fuel needs. This is because it has very little working refining capacity. The fuel scarcities have been more frequent since President Bola Tinubu removed the costly fuel subsidies in 2023. Since then, the fuel crisis has tripled in some of the states. Last week, the state oil company hiked prices for the second time in just over a month. Due to the frequent fuel shortages, Nigeria witnesses long queues at petrol stations, causing traffic and other disruptions. The second biggest concern in Nigeria are the dangerous roads. Fuel tanker explosions and accidents are common in Nigeria, often caused by the poor state of roads and badly maintained vehicles. As per a World Health Organization report last year, annual road accident deaths in Nigeria to be closer to 40,000. Nigeria's Federal Road Safety Commission recorded over 1,500 accidents involving fuel tankers that caused 535 deaths. Just last month, at least 59 people died when a fuel tanker collided with a truck carrying passengers and cattle in northwestern Niger State. Now, these incidents come at a time when Nigerians are increasingly frustrated over the country's economic woes and bad governance. Hundreds of Nigerians have taken to the streets demanding solutions from the Tinubu government. However, such a growing frequency of tragic incidents highlights that there has been very little progress. It looks like Godzilla has finally come out of a world of fiction and attacked the United States for real. Yes, you heard it right. However, it is not a giant monster that has attacked like in the movies. It is a software tool. And that malicious software tool has attacked critical public and private infrastructure, not only in the United States, but across the globe over the past 1 year. But why are we talking about it now? The United States has charged 2 Sudanese brothers with running a small cyber attack group called Anonymous Sudan that orchestrated over 35,000 denial of service attacks in a single year. Now, the 2 brothers, Ahmed Salah Yusuf Omer and Allah Salah Yusuf Omer, are charged with conspiracy of impairing protected computers, and their convictions could lead to potential life sentences. But what exactly is Anonymous Sudan? Who have they attacked? And why are they being charged with cybercrimes? Let's understand. As per media reports, Anonymous Sudan has been active since January of 2023. It is a group of cybercriminals known for operating a robust hacking-for-hire business. This could be individuals or groups that sell unlawful access to computer systems or networks for money. Now, some reports suggest that they undertook ideologically motivated cyber attacks, which were pro-Russia and pro-Hamas. Now, Anonymous Sudan has often used specific software to conduct over 35,000 cyber attacks over the past year. The Sudanese hacking group used other tools as well, like Godzilla Botnet, Skynet, or Infra Shutdown. Now, these tools and sophisticated techniques rely upon large numbers of proxy devices, which relay cyber attacks from Anonymous Sudan's command and control server to the victims' computers. And the hacking group managed to penetrate some of the most protected firewalls in the world. According to the indictment filed by the U.S. Department of Justice, several countries, including the United States, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Australia, Israel, India, Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Armenia have been affected by the Sudanese group's attacks. And the cyber attacks have gone after multiple sectors and government entities. The cyber attacks have been on government entities, hospitals and healthcare organizations, law enforcement agencies, the aviation sector, financial and investment institutions, and several other critical infrastructure. Now, Anonymous Sudan have also targeted prominent companies including Microsoft, OpenAI, PayPal, social media platform X, Netflix, Hulu, the Associated Press, Reddit, and CNN, among many others. The attacks by Anonymous Sudan Group have caused over $10 million in damages to the United States alone. Damages to other countries still remains unknown. Now, the indictment filed in the U.S. also stated that in 2023, the 2 Sudanese brothers had also posted a message on Telegram saying that they were declaring a cyber war on the United States, which is their primary target. Now, according to media reports, it is also alleged that Anonymous Sudan was involved during last year's attack by Hamas on Israel in October. It's alleged that the group had handicapped Israel's red alert system that is used for warning citizens about incoming rocket fire on the 7th of October. And this was done in solidarity with Palestine, the group said on Telegram. While reports claim that both the brothers are highly educated and have been arrested outside of the United States, there are no further details available on how the U.S. government will take this case forward and how it would implicate the 2 Sudanese brothers. And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid the coups and the crises, there are many positive stories from Africa that often get overlooked, but not on this show. Now, amidst the worsening drought in northwest Tunisia, one local farmer's persistence has transformed her village. After years of effort and a partnership with the European Union, Saida Zouawi has built a small dam that now provides vital irrigation to nearby farms. What seemed like an impossible dream is now a reality, helping farmers thrive again. This is the story of how one woman's vision brought back hope to a struggling community.
In a small village in northwest Tunisia, where the landscape is a patchwork of parched fields and green plots, a quiet revolution is underway. For years, farmers in the village of Ghardimau have watched their crops wither under the harsh sun, their lands thirsty for water. A 6-year drought had taken its toll and hope was fading fast. But amid this struggle, a local woman farmer decided to take action. Saida Zoui had grown up in this village, watching her father and grandfather try and fail to create a simple reservoir using sandbags. They lacked the infrastructure and funds to make it work, but the idea never left her mind. As the years went on, the situation worsened. Traditional dikes that once watered 48 hectares of land in the 1970s and 80s could now barely irrigate 12 hectares. Many younger people left for the cities, tired of trying to make a living from the dry soil. Those who stayed behind reduced the size of their farms and stopped growing crops that needed too much water.
With climate change and water shortages, farmers have begun to lose faith in agriculture. Many have migrated to the city, while others have abandoned the profession altogether, as it no longer provides a stable source of income.
But this farmer had a dream. She envisioned building a small dam that could turn the tide for her village. She proposed the idea to the authorities, but they said it wasn't feasible. Tunisia was struggling with debt and there were more pressing concerns. But she kept pushing, convinced that this lifetime project would not only revive her farm, but bring back life to the entire area.
As our ancestors began in this profession, we must continue, and my children and the children of farmers will also continue in this way. However, we have to face up to the reality and adapt to climate change.
And finally, in 2019, after years of effort, her vision began to take shape. Thanks to foreign support, the European Union covered 90% of funds needed to build the dam. Local farmers pitched in the remaining 10%, offering their labor and resources to make it happen.
Our reality has changed radically. Today, we sell our produce. We sell peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and many other vegetables. Yes, our situation has changed, and I'm no longer looking for another job, as this is now my profession.
The dam wasn't huge, about the size of 1.5 Olympic pools and 3 meters deep. But its impact was immediate. It now irrigates 45 small farms, each about 1 to 2 hectares in size, with a free rotation system for water access. For the farmers, it was nothing short of a miracle.
This dam has helped us to get back to farming at 70%. We no longer have to dig canals or use trucks or shovels to irrigate our land. Today, everything works perfectly well, but our major problem remains climate change and water scarcity. Despite this, thanks to this dam, we give thanks to God.
The project has brought hope back to Ghardimau. Water now flows through the village's canals, helping the community survive Tunisia's worsening droughts. As the local woman farmer clears debris from the dam, she smiles and says,
We see this change as a catastrophe, but we have to face it with our means, manage its risks, and not lose hope. We won't give up.
And the village pins its hopes on Saida Zoui.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.